rush over. Left me for dead and think I'm gonna kill over. Oh no, not I. I and I will survive. Never let them get you down. Never let them see you frown. Never let them take away your liberty. Live your life and be free. Never let them get you down. Never let them see you frown. Never let them lead you astray. Starting today, live your life and live it your way. When you go through heartache, when you're feeling pain, when you end up in a desert and I wonder why the hell it not rain. When them pass them judgments and every word left a stain. When them talk up the things them just to mash up your life and give you bad name. Them think you're weak, but I that's a them blunder. Bad mind and think them left your business asunder. Don't give them that power. Show them you can be stronger. Just take up yourself and make the whole of them wonder how you get up when them a try keep you under. Don't believe their lies. Show them that you will rise. Never let them get you down. Never let them see you frown. Never let them take away your liberty. Live your life and be free. Never let them get you down. Never let them see you.
What's up, it's your boy Bobby Schmurder. April 21st, we'll be in St. Martin's. You heard St. Martin's Hip Hop Festival. Stefflon Dawn, plenty more. It's gonna be lit like a bitch. We out there. I'm wildin'. You already know it's lit. I'm looking for an island girl. Yeah, who on the island, boy?
Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Andrew Day. Okie dokie, kids. What's happening on the lovely island of St. Martin? We begin with, of course, the Parliament meeting that everybody was waiting for, and that happened on Thursday, which has to do with the police situation. It's day 4 of the actions, and the members of Parliament decided to have a public meeting of Parliament by way of question hour. Question hour basically means that a member of Parliament asks a minister to come. They have a certain amount of minutes to answer questions based on that, and the answers, then the MPs then ask more questions, and then the minister gives answers, and it happens quickly within the hour. Hence the reason it's called question hour. Get it? All right. Now, of course, the police situation continues. They are on go slow, and a lot of things are not being reported, but we do know of several situations whereby police was called and they didn't show up. And it's getting worse. The immigration situation also. I heard that a number of immigration officers also starting to go on sick leave, so they get in the civil servant bug. So it's going to be a very interesting week next week, but the action continues, and according to a press release from the police union, they will continue their actions until the minister comes with a decent solution. Now, your highlights for the Parliament meeting, let's get to that. Where the minister was unapologetic. No, I mean, she was apologetic. She was sincere, and she looked very, very sorry. You could see that she really feels for the police officers and the justice workers. Not, of course, she came in there swinging. She came there like, let me tell all you something. Anyway, here's your highlight.
When putting the placement procedure in place, were unions informed or involved in the planning and the procedures that were to be executed? If yes, please give dates and who were present in those meetings and the topics discussed. Are all unions represented under the CCSU? Can you explain the procedure of putting an offer letter together, and is there a legal document that guides this process? Can you tell us who is on the placement committee and the appeal committee? Are the unions represented on these committees? And is the formation of these committees done according to the law? Who is legally allowed to sign the offer letter, and what legal document is this based on? Are all workers on the Justice Ministry receiving an offer letter? Are the workers free to appeal, reject, the offer given to them? When a worker receives his offer letter and the offer is not accepted, can you please give an explanation on the procedure that must be followed? If the offer is accepted, what is the procedure and how soon thereafter can a worker expect to be paid? The date of March 31st, 2023, the end of the first quarter, is being mentioned as a deadline. Can you please explain if there was a deadline and what exactly was to be concluded by this date? If you were unable to meet this deadline, can you please explain why? Will the 16.3% Windward Island allowance bovenwinsten toelage be included in the payment that will be made? And final question, are there any plans to adjust the salary scales of the workers in scales 6 to 9? There are many workers that can find themselves in a very detrimental situation. These scales have not been amended while the pension age has increased to 65. And if I have more time, I want to expound by saying that the offer letter presented to them does not allow them to grow or the possibility to earn more money as they have reached the maximum in scale that is assigned to their position. Some has reached and remained on this level for the past 10 years. And what we are seeing is that many are disappointed since the remuneration that was expected and is nowhere close, and they don't have the possibility of growth. With that, I'd like to leave it here. Did I make it on time? Yes?
2:37. Thank you, MP Grisha Harliger-Martin. I would now give the floor to the Minister of Justice, Ms. Anna Richardson, to answer the questions. Minister, you have the floor.
Pleasant good afternoon to you, Mr. Chairman, as well as to all the members that are here today, members of Parliament, and a good afternoon to all the officers that are here in the tribune. The first question that is asked by, and I should actually extend an appreciation as well to MP Heiliger for presenting these questions. I believe that the way that these questions are structured, it really does give an opportunity to bring clarity to what may be misunderstood or not clear for the persons that this affects mostly. Question one, Minister, when putting the placement procedure in place, in the question hour, I'm able to respond to the, just answer. Just answer. Sorry. Okay. So for question one, it's basically being asked who was all involved in these meetings and when these meetings took place. The dates that I have that are relevant in particular to this placement process is December 2nd was the first meeting that we had with regards to identifying who would be a part of the placement committee as well as the appeals committee. Okay, for the Landsbesluit, which I have a copy here, the national decree. In the national decree, it stipulates exactly who are the members of these. It was recently brought to my attention that this has not yet been published. As per, I believe, April 14th, it will be published in the National Gazette, or the Landscourant, for all persons to be able to have a copy of. And this is what governs the legal basis of establishing or the, role and responsibility of the placement committee as well as the Bazwaar committee. In attendance to those meetings was the NRPB, ABVO, WICSU, Y2. Am I missing anyone? No? So all the unions were present, especially in that meeting on December 2nd, when it was decided who would be a part of these committees. So absolutely no union was excluded. Are all unions represented in the CCSU? The only union by legal framework that is not, and that is due to their size, is the NRPB. However, I requested Mr. Bosman, who is the chairman of the CCSU, to give opportunity for NRPB to be present, and the Y2, that is in the leadership of Mr. Stuart Johnson, will always give the opportunity to vote and speak to NRPB to be able to ensure that their position, their voice is heard. Can you explain the procedure of putting an offer letter together? The offer letter, and again, I refer back to the Landsbesluit, and what it stipulates is the role and responsibility of each committee. The role and responsibility of the placement committee is to work together with the agency or the department, because this is about operations. The agency is the one who is aware of the responsibility of each officer. In this case, let's use KPSM. The chief of police knows who has to be where, what service line, and what has to be done. Together, the chief of police and his HR team worked with the placement committee to ensure that the placement of each officer is done in accordance to what their operational structure requires. So that is not something that is determined, decided, or orchestrated by the minister. This is done on an operations level. The placement committee will then draft up the necessary text, and they are the ones that issues this letter. It is also signed by the placement committee because of the legal basis of the national decree. So it is not the Minister of Justice that signs the national decree, and I believe that is the next question or a question that comes. The placement letter or the offer letter is not signed by the minister nor the governor. When the offer is accepted, then the national decree is prepared, and that document is signed by the minister and the governor. Can you tell who is the placement committee? I can read off these names, but again, as per April 14th, it will be printable and available online. Mr. Dahl, as a consultant, is chairing the placement committee. Ms. Florence Marlin, as our HR manager and acting SG, is also a part of this committee. And a member, actually the vice president of NRP Bay, Mr. Duran, Officer Duran, is the third member of the placement committee. So he is also well aware of our status and all that is taking place in this procedure. The appeals committee, Ms. Van Harperen, she is a senior legal policy advisor in judicial affairs of the ministry. We have Ms. Ismail, she's the head of judicial affairs of the Ministry of Justice. Ms. S. Kanagita, she is the president of WICSU. Ms. Charlene Catalina, he is the president of ABVO. And Ms. Anne Groen Gums, she is also a member of the appeals committee. Are all unions represented on these committees, and is the formation of these committees done according to law? The members or the unions that have members that are a part of these committees, as I indicated, are NRPB, ABVO, and WICSU. And yes, it is in accordance to the law, that being the Social Statute, and by extension, by national decree of the Placement Committee and the Appeals Committee. Who is legally allowed to sign the offer letter, and what law is this based on? So once again, I make mention that we establish the authority of the Placement Committee and the Appeals Committee to execute these functions that are all governed within the Social Statute by that of a Landsbesluit. So the Minister of Justice has given the mandate to these entities or these committees to be able to oversee this entire process. Are all workers of the Justice Ministry receiving offer letters? That ultimately is that. All agencies to date, with the exception of Immigration and Harvey Bay or the prison, have received their letters. Immigration is a very large organization, just like KPSM. We saw to it, or the committee, the group, it is only about 4 persons that are doing all of this by hand. Preparing the letters, getting them signed, preparing the envelopes, putting the letters in the envelopes, having the letters delivered to the agencies, and then the department heads are the ones to distribute. But one thing that I have to make through you, Mr. Chairman, very clear, and I believe I said this before, it is a very serious process, because the moment an error is made where an offer is given that is outside of the reality of that individual can take legal action because the wrong information was given to them. They also have the ability to do an objection, which is different than an appeal. Okay, but it is a case that when the large Excel file is sent to the agency to prepare and make sure that the information is accurate, we aren't just making letters based on that and issuing. Our HR department, who are ladies that have vast experience in HR, sits and they comb through every single line to make sure that the information is as accurate as possible. Then the letter is printed and it is then issued to the staff. So we totally understand the upset, for the lack of a better expression, of our immigration department, because they feel like the focus has only been placed on, per se, KPSM, and nothing is happening for them. That is not the truth. We are really working in the background as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I will tell you here, I have sat and made labels and stuck labels onto envelopes to be able to give the other persons who are working on making sure the information is correct the time and ability to do that. So all of us have all hands on deck, and we are working in the interests of the staff. Are the workers free to appeal or reject the offer given to them? Yes, the workers are free to reject an offer and file an objection with the appeals committee. But one of the things that we are trying to do as well is, even before allowing it to go to an appeals committee, if you want to come in and say, listen, because I will want to bring back the date of February 14th, which was another meeting that we had with the CCSU. And in attendance to that, ABVO and NRPB was not in attendance to this meeting. In that meeting, it was requested by the CCSU if we will be permitted to receive something as simple as an email from an officer or a person within the organization, within the ministry, who would say, listen, I don't have a national decree or even a ministerial decree to confirm that I functioned in a particular position for X amount of period of time. But what I do have is an email. And this email that came from my supervisor or my director gave me direction to work somewhere for a period of time, and I believe I should be compensated for that. That wasn't a decision just made by the minister on her own to do that. I sought approval from CCSU, which is the proper thing to do. In that meeting, it was granted that we could use an email to support staff. Guess what happened? When that was published, there was a lot of negative feedback. You don't have your administration. That is true. The entire ministry in itself does not have, or did not, I should say, have its administration properly in order. But we wanted to make sure that all staff are heard and their scenarios are considered. When they got placement letters, we did have some staff that came in and said, listen, my offer letter isn't correct because I have proof to show. And this is exactly why we went to the CCSU to seek approval. Now, had I not taken that step, I would have to say, well, I don't have approval, I'll have to go to CCSU, and that would have, but we thought beforehand, go and seek this approval, which we acquired on the February 14th. Again, I am stating, NRPB and ABVO was not present in those meetings, so the other members of the CCSU platform understood our request and approved it. When workers receive his offer letter and the offer is not accepted, can you please give an explanation on the procedure? I sure can. And I would want to make reference to two very important items that has been published. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I think that, Mr. Chairman, to be very honest with you, this is a very delicate situation. That's why I thank the MP for even giving us the opportunity, because my hope is that we would be able to bring the clarity. It's really intense, so I don't know if the time allotted will be sufficient. Just asking. But with regards to the question, which wants to know about the procedure if you want to make an objection, two documents were given. One, on the offer letter itself, as well as the newsletter that we issued on the 24th of March, gives extensive information about the entire procedure. And one of the things it has here is, do you want to check this? Well, it says, if the information is incorrect, please let us know within 30 days via our hr@justice.gov.sx. Please note that this is stipulated in the Social Statute for the construction of Land of St. Martin. Okay, so we have expressed on various levels how one can go about expressing that they don't agree with what has been offered. If the offer is accepted, what is the procedure and how soon thereafter can a worker expect to be paid? we were aiming to complete the calculations, and this goes into another question, the calculations in itself for all 700 plus employees we have, and be able to turn that over to the governor as per the 31st of March. Okay, indeed, a deadline missed. And in explaining why the deadline was missed is because this process includes gathering historic information so that each person receives their rightful amount due. You cannot do that if you don't have accurate information. So it relies on the staff going into the history, which is supported by Antec, who provides the system for our payroll. It requires us working with loan and salaries, and it requires us being able to even get bank statements to confirm what payments had been issued prior to any further payments. And that is what I'm saying here. It goes into question 11 about the deadline of the 31st, which was to complete the entire calculation process, send that to the governor. That is what was stipulated several times for us to have complete. If you were unable to meet this deadline, can you please explain why? And I did just now by indicating that in this process of acquiring historic data, we have encountered certain hiccups that made it difficult for us to meet the deadline. And I am truly, along with my staff that is working, sorry that we did not meet that, but it hasn't stopped us. We are still running strong to be able to get it complete. Will the 16.3 Windward Islands allowance be included in the payment that will be made? Yes, the salary base has been altered to incorporate the 16.3 allowance. Once again, this was done in 2010, but after 2 months, the unions, after 2 months, it was the decision of the unions to have it removed. And that is what we are busy trying to rectify.
I would like to request members of parliament, minister's time is up, but being the matter at hand, I would request if 5 more minutes can be given to her, if it's allowed.
It's not necessary, actually. No, it's not. It's really not necessary.
So I saw that you were trying to speed up, and I would like all the clarification to be out better, so you have 5 more minutes extra for your answer.
Okay, so then what I would do is this, because technically, when it comes to question 14, with regards to, which is actually the last question of MP Heiliger, it is asking for justification about the scales between 6 and 9. And to be honest with you, MP, I would appreciate an opportunity to delve into this one a little bit more. And why I say that is because we have to keep in mind that, one, that draft salary scale was one that was established in 2019. It had gone to the Council of Advice. This is something that the unions had also worked on. So the unions are the ones that basically shaped the way that our salary scales are structured. And if it's one thing that I didn't do is go against unions very much about the Rexpositsi and the salary scales. I really did not. I tried my best to be able to work with them very much on it. And I think that, you know, question 12 is the only one in terms of meeting the deadline. I've given the overview on it. So pretty much I think I've covered everything, but I'm available for any additional information that is necessary, because as I said before, pretty grateful for the questions and the opportunity to be able to bring the clarity.
Now, of course, my favorite part of the meeting was Akeem Arinel. Yes, our very vocal parliamentarian. He was a police officer, and of course, he's still a police officer. So if this politics thing don't work out for him, then he has to go back to the police department. So for sure, he wants to make sure he stays with his men and women in blue. He was very straightforward with the minister, and the answer from the minister made absolutely no sense, because if she was going to sit down with them, she could have done that before the meeting. But in any case, let's see what happens. No problem. Let's go to that.
You have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody in the police force, so yeah, my fellow colleagues. I will get straight to it. As you can see, you have a lot of miscommunication. We in here having misdirection, everybody having misleads about different things. I would want to, hopefully you can answer this. What about the department heads? Are they informing the workers anything? Talking to them individually? When I was a police officer, I remember we have a jump up coming up. They're spending 15 minutes coming talking about, did I book was 15 minutes to come talk to the people and explain what's going on. So I don't know if you're informing the department heads to talk to the individuals. And also, Minister, are you willing for yourself to also to talk to every individual for yourself? Stop having this much communication. Everybody doing, like this one say, he say, if you would take a one-on-one on your time, starting from next week or wherever, so you sit down every afternoon, let's talk 700 plus, everyone of them, so everybody can have an understanding. Instead of going through the union, this one, everybody have their own understanding for themselves. That'll be it.
Thank you, MP Akeem Arundel. Minister of Justice, you have the floor.
Definitely, the department heads must be directly involved in this because that's where it begins. Earlier in my statements, I indicated this does not begin with the minister because the minister is not a part of the operations. It begins with the department heads. Now, do the department heads engage with the staff, walking around, asking them, hey, how do you feel about your letter? I don't know. Is it a case that the staff themselves are approaching the department heads, or are they only basing it on whatever the unions are saying to them? I don't know what's happening there. But to roll right into your next question, my door has always been open. It is just the willingness of the officers to come to me one-on-one. And this is something that is personalized. You have to be willing to come so that we can speak one-on-one, or it's a case that if you are coming as an individual, you're giving the opportunity for my person, along with the head of HR, in this case our acting SG, who is also, according to the Landsbeslide, a member of the placement committee, to meet with you, hear your grievances. I have never been a closed door. It's always a welcome, but it is the choice as to whether you're doing this as an individual or you're doing this in a unionized form. So my door is open. I am willing to meet with. I can meet with you after this meeting, if you'd like, on an individual basis.
Okay, so now you heard Akeem Arundel. Now, of course, the tallest member of parliament, Rolando Brison, came in as usual with a solution instead of bitching about a problem. He came in, he gave us a suggestion, and the minister looked like she might consider it. Hopefully she does consider it, because I think that's the most practical solution to the situation right now. But let's see. This is the tallest member of parliament's suggestion in the parliament meeting.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I tend to want to be a very solution-oriented person while appreciating the answers and the questions posed. I have a question that I would like the minister to consider and give a response of this being possible. As we know, we were able in 2020 to make payments in terms of, let's call that installment one, for lack of a better term. Since then, from what I understand, you have now made calculations that the government believes, although many of them may feel that is not accurate, but the government is doing something that I legally consider acknowledging a debt. That's now on paper. So taking that context in the accountability ordinance, there's an acknowledgement of debt to the justice workers. Is it now possible with that calculation to be able to pay the officers based on that debt, with the strict condition placed on the government, however, that even if they receive those funds immediately, that they have full rights to still object and say, no, I think I was actually owed more or a different amount, that right is not taken away from them, where they can receive at least the funds that you believe they are owed, and if there's a difference, that they will then be able to get a chance to appeal it still. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Brison. Minister of Justice, you have the floor.
Thank you, MP Brison. So as I've mentioned before, throughout this whole process, I have been querying and asking if there's opportunities for the legal basis. One thing that MP Brison did say a few minutes ago is the fact that we can now identify specifically what amount is owed to each person. And indeed, in discussion with my legal, I will try to see, or we will try to see, what opportunity, if any, is there to be able to move into another payment while we are still busy with calculations, etc. Because ultimately what the governor needs to be able to sign the LBHUM for the Rexpositie as well as the salary scales is to be able to know that total sum. So MP, it's definitely something that I would like to be able to explore, and I can always provide an update thereafter. Yeah, thank you.
So there you heard MP Brison. Now the question is, what have we learned? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Still the same BS. I just don't understand what's going to happen with these police workers, but these justice workers, but time will tell. The action continues, and of course the government continues to enjoy their Easter. They sent out well wishes to the population, and of course, nothing came from the Minister of Justice to the population because she doesn't owe the population an explanation, of course. No, of course not. She went to Parliament and that's it. She doesn't have to communicate with the lawyers or the union or the justice workers or the people of St. Martin, but yet she's there to serve the people of St. Martin. I hope you remember this during elections because I really, really can't wait to hear them coming back to the people and saying, oh my God, vote for me because I've done this, I've done that, but yet you have done absolutely zero. Welcome to the Late Night Show. We have a good one for you. Let's begin.
Fundación Raíces Dominicana presenta Noche Latina 2023 este 27 de abril. Una noche repleta de entretenimientos con la revolución urbana del momento. Flow 28. Para deleitarnos, la salsa con clase de David Cava. La sensación del momento, Ángel Diol. El bachatero número 1 de la República Dominicana, el chaval de la bachata. El artista más completo de la República Dominicana. Bueno en balada, bueno en merengue, bueno en salsa. Alex Bueno.
Con el alma desnuda.
Entrada $40 por adelantado y $60 en la puerta. Reserva tu mesa VIP al 1721-588-2744. Patrocinado por Ball Label, Sonesto Bajo y Sky High. Será un evento para que nadie te lo cuente.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.